What's going on YouTube? My name is Mr. Criplet, and today I wanted to go ahead and talk about the OB9 patch. Now before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you'd like to keep up with any featured content, I will be leaving a link to my Twitch and my Discord in the description below. Now, I've already kind of looked over this patch a little bit, and I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts about everything. This patch is going to be absolutely insane. New God coming in, an aspect coming in on the 5th. Also, his aspect coming out on the 18th, and I'll be going over briefly about what everything does. And it's kind of insane. This patch is going to be really crazy, especially with the item changes, which we're going to be going over. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So, as I said before, Guan is going to be coming out on the 5th. And if you've played him in Smite 1, you know how much fun this character is, and he's mostly ability-based with some pseudo-healing. In this game, his base kit, one, he gets hybrid scaling. Right, so he can scale with intelligence and with strength, but it seems like the only thing that's really going to be scaling with intelligence is going to be his 1. If you don't know what it does, it's just a heal, and now it also reduces the cooldowns of Guan Yu and his allies. Now, I haven't played Smite 1 in a while. I knew it reduced the cooldowns for him, but I don't know if it reduced the cooldowns for his allies as well, which is going to be insane when we talk about what his aspect does. Okay? Another thing that they did is that now his passive, instead of just giving bonuses to his abilities, they actually completely changed it. Now, the passive gives him attack speed, and why attack speed is important to him is that it affects how many times his 3 and his ultimate can hit you, which is really crazy when you think about it, because this can his 3 can repeatedly reduce the protections that somebody has, and it doesn't increase the cast. It doesn't make it to where the casting time is longer, like how Cerberus' aspect works, but instead just shreds even faster. So in that short window, you can shred even more protections, and then the ultimate, you can hit more with the swipes, getting bigger stacks of the Actually, I don't know if this slows anymore. Yeah, it still stuns, but I don't think it doesn't slow anymore. It doesn't seem like. But now it also but now you can actually hit more times with the ultimate instead of the standard 1, 2, 3, and then the stun. Now you could possibly hit up to 6, 7 times depending on how much attack speed you have. So this is actually really cool to see. I've seen some videos of Weekend playing him in the PTS, and it looks kind of goofy, I'm not going to lie, with him swinging as fast as he does, but the amount of damage he can get and how much control he can have over the battlefield is just insane. So this character is definitely going to be extremely fun to play, and if you don't know what his aspect does, coming out on the 9th, sorry, I thought it was the 18th, but the 9th, now he will get no strength scaling at all, no strength scaling. However, the heal the conviction will give a heal over time, and it will share protections from Talo Assault. So basically, if you use your 3, and then you pop your heal, the heal will be even bigger, and then you'll actually share the protections you gained from Talo Assault. And then now Battle Fervor gives you extra intelligence instead of attack speed, so it passively gives you more healing on your 1. So this is going to make him a very amazing support, since he does have a stun and a protection shred. I think the only thing that's going to be really difficult for him is having CC outside of just the slow. But it does reduce his cooldowns, and the 1 reduces his cooldown. So he still gets a lot of benefit from this. So I could see with the aspect, you're just going to be building a lot of cooldown intelligence items, and then just spamming your 2 and your 1 as often as possible while also trying to shred protection. So this could be really crazy. Now, this is basically just the same thing. Skins coming out in the game. Some new cosmetics and stuff. Ooh, excuse me. And stuff like that. I won't really go over the supporter item stuff because this is just cosmetic. Some new announcer packs. Ping system got fixed. God Builder was adjusted. All this is nice, but let's go ahead and skip all this and just head straight into ranked. Ranked, actually, now, they're doing a soft reset in OB9, so people who are going for the rank grind, just go ahead and stop right now. Unless you think you can hit Diamond tonight, just go ahead and go for that. Completely up to you, or Obsidian, but completely up to you, but there is going to be a rank reset, so keep that in mind. Um, Conquest. This is what I really wanted to get into, the God balances and the Conquest stuff. Now, Conquest, basically from what this patch is, you're going to be getting increased gold from farmable items. So lane minions, jungle minions, side harpies, stuff like that. You get a pretty sizable increase to the amount of gold you get. But in trade-off, you get a significant decrease in the amount of EXP you get. Also, they decrease the amount of damage the minions do to Phoenix, which I'll go over here in a second. But what I want to touch on this is that what they're trying to do is make it to where you can get full build or get items on quicker. However, you level up slower. I don't know if the implication means that we're probably going to be reaching full build, or it's going to be a little easier to stop people who get massively ahead, or to slow those people down, and instead they just get extra gold so they can get cards on quicker. I think that what this could possibly mean is that people who do have a sizable difference is only going to have the sizable difference in golden items rather than also having the difference in EXP too. So you're not fighting in, you're not running into. I know you've had those games where the enemy carry, let's just say the carry for this instance, is level 18, your carry is level 15, but their carry also still has 5 cards on, while your carry has 3. So now, even though they'll probably still have those 5 cards on, instead of being 18, they'll probably be 17 or 16, while your carry is 14 or 15. So it kind of balances that out. It will still get pretty sizable differences in levels if they're not playing properly. That's just how the game goes. But this does make it significantly harder. And plus now, minions can't just take Phoenixes on their own, like sneak pushing. So, but the minions do increase damage to each other as time goes on, so keep that in mind. But minions won't instant nuke your Phoenix anymore, which is kind of nice. God balances. Lots of buffs here, not really a lot of nerfs. I'm very surprised they didn't touch Kali in this patch. It's, as much as people have been complaining about her, the fact that she's not getting a nerf is really, really stupid. But we'll go over that here in a moment. Athena. So, Confound, her 2, which is her stun, now has a 2-second reduced cooldown, which is nice. This is actually a really significant change. You're going to be building a lot of cooldowns on her anyway to make this come down quicker. But having 2 seconds extra shaved off of this is going to make or break a team. So I don't think she's going to be top tier anytime soon because of this, but this is a nice change. Also, they decreased the cooldowns on her ultimate, so now she can cycle through her ultimate quicker. So as you level it up, it'll go down from 120 to 100 seconds. Again, not a huge significant change, because you're only going to get this 100-second benefit at level 20. But, and with how, slow you're going to be hitting level 20, this is not really amazing, but having cooldown reduction on an ultimate at all is nice anyway. Bellona getting a good buff, her Scourge, which is her 3, the heal that she gets. The heal will only scale from your physical protections now, and they increased how much healing she gets from those physical protections. So having a lot of physical protections on her is going to make her 3 heal her for a lot, making her sustain even stronger than what it already was. So anti-heal against her is going to be a must. And then the ultimate, they just basically increase the damage on it by a significant amount. It's hitting significantly harder at level 1, but only doing about 10 more damage at level 20. So it'll hit harder early and still hit about the same late game. So her early game and her sustain early game is going to be insane. They obviously want Bellona to be used more in this patch. Nemesis. Her 1, which is her dash. Each of the dashes now do increased damage by about 10, not huge, but the slice and dice, the strength scaling you get is increased from 80 to 90%, so the 2 is going to hit harder if you hit them dead center. Again, this buff doesn't really seem hugely significant, but a 10 damage increase can fluff those numbers a little bit better, so she will be hitting harder. We'll see what it's going to be looking like on Monday. Raw, buff, Searing Pain, the true damage dealt. This is kind of crazy. The ultimate does true damage, and now instead of just 5% of the target's max HP, now it does 8%. A whole 3% increase, which, even though 3% doesn't sound like that much, 3% overall is kind of nuts. So the ult is going to be hitting a lot harder. I don't know what this means for his ult, because in the aspect, I don't know what it means for that, because in the aspect, it's always going to do a flat 800. I don't think he gets the true damage scaling while he has the aspect on. We'll have to double check on that. But even so, a damage-based Raw with an increased damage to a target's max HP is really nice. Rama got a little shift. During the aspect, the slow that you get is decreased from 3 to 2, which is nice, and the slow duration is increased by about half a second, which is good. The aspect on Rama, him still having the slow while the aspect is active, while his basically just makes it to where his 1 is always active, and always having a slow like this is kind of nuts, makes it to where it's pretty difficult to fight into him, even though he does have a significant decrease in attack speed with the aspect. But regardless, it's a nice little change without completely destroying the character. And also, the damage scaling on the 1 is increased. So with the aspect and without the aspect, there's 1 is going to hit significantly harder. So I can see Rama, even with this nerf, is going to become a little bit more meta simply because of the 5% damage increase. Suuuuuper buff. Basically, he just gets increased damage. The 2 does more damage, which is the pull, and the ultimate does more damage. 30 damage more at early game, so it hits harder early, but doesn't hits relatively the same at level 20. The 2 does significantly more damage late game, but early game it does about the same. Okay, Thanatos getting a buff. The minion heal on his passive, when he kills something, instead of just 8% of their max HP, you get an extra 10, so an extra 1.5 increase to healing, which is nice. The 1, which is his hardest hitting ability, and probably the hardest hitting ability early game, is now getting a 1 second reduction in cooldown, and the silence on his 3 is increased to just basically be a second rather than just 0.75 seconds. So this is nice. I don't know if I can say the aspect is still better, but this, with the normal increase to the minions, it makes it to where his farming is going to be significantly better. So I think his farming is going to be a little bit better, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a change. Still a nice change. Ymir buff. Don't know why they're buffing Ymir, but now his passive, Frostbite, now reduces your attack speed by 10%. Bro, why? 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 Okay, you know what? Ymir isn't broke by any means, but this is annoying. This is one of those changes that's just annoying to have. He's definitely going to be a lot better as a support, because even if he doesn't hit his freeze, hitting the 2 on somebody is going to reduce the carry's attack speed, which is going to hurt significantly. So Ymir with this debuff might actually be a very good counter to Rama. So we'll see. And then Kali aspect releasing on 12. This aspect makes her to where she's fun A tier, but not broken. Like, this is what I wanted to see with Kali. Basically, her attacks become ranged. And the Rupture instead now, instead of infinitely, or not infinitely stacking, but once it hits 5 stacks, it deals damage and it heals you. But the trade-off is you no longer have a stun, and then the ultimate doesn't do damage, it doesn't prevent your death, and it doesn't give immunities. However, it does give you strength and intelligence, it lowers your cooldowns, it resets the cooldown on mark kills, and her basics pierce, and applies 2 Rupture stacks. So this essentially kind of just makes her a carry. I don't know how to say about her in the jungle. This does regularize her a little bit, and I've seen the damage numbers she can actually pull off with this aspect, and it's still very, very strong. As far as not having the revive and not having the stun, I do think it makes her more balanced. Oh, and instead of the stun, it just knocks enemies away and it applies Rupture. So it's a good little get off me. She has a get off me tool and a leap. So really strong. I think this is going to be at least A, minimum A, because ranged autos that heal and deal damage, burst, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think she's going to be great. I think she's going to be really good. And now the final and the biggest thing. I'm not going to go over every single item, but what you need to know, the most important thing that you need to know, is that items that used to give pen No longer give pen. Pen is now dedicated to 4 items, which is Titan's Bane for physicals, Obsidian Shards for magicals, Totem of Death, and Executioner. Everything else had pen removed, which is crazy to me. And the trade-off for those items that got their pen removed, for example, Oathsworn Spear, now gives increased strength. Or basically, it just gives increased damage numbers while also decreasing the amount it costs. Also, Executioner no longer just gives physical strength. Now it's just a flat pen amount. And you gain 40 strength or 70 intelligence depending on which stat is higher. So this is a universal item now. Which is still kind of crazy to me. A lot of these items got really big boosts. Like Divine Ruin, now, since it doesn't have the pen, it gets an increased cost or increased damage numbers by 20, which is insane. And you'll see this a lot with all the other items. When their pen gets removed, they get a pretty significant boost to the damage that it gives. Also, Necronomicon giving mana and mana regen with how strong it is kind of crazy. Not gonna lie. But we'll see how this goes. Because Necronomicon, why Necronomicon was so good is because when you get a kill with it, not only does it give you power, but it also gives you pen. But now that the pen is removed and it only gives power, this will stack really well into Book of Thoth. But will the damage increase you get from it be good enough to warrant building it now? Spear of Deso too, really cool. Reduction from 1 to 3 seconds to 5 seconds and 10th. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So the passive reduction on non-ultimate abilities, instead of getting 1 second removed, now you get 3, and the ultimate from 5 seconds to 10 seconds off, which is huge. 5 seconds off an ultimate. Like a lot of these items are getting these kind of changes too. Like Gauntlet of Thieves, another big change. Instead of giving protections, now this just gives you max health. Like Okaji and Gem of Focus, they got shifted to now, when you use an ability, gain a stack of momentum, granting 4% movement speed for 6 seconds, and stacks up to 3 times. So this still gives you a significant movement speed increase. Let me see. Okay. Basically what they're saying with the passive being musically exclusive to each other is basically saying you can't build both these items together anymore. One of each. You're not gonna be able to build both to get a fat stack of movement speed. So only one of each. Another thing that they did with some of the items is now they introduced damage ranges. Biggest example is Mystic Mail, a really popular item right now to build on tanks. Basically, this will do more damage the closer you are to somebody, and then if you're at its max range where you can hit it, it's going to do like 50% less damage. So it will benefit you more to be closer to them than being far away. I don't understand this change, particularly with Mystic Mail, because you want to be close to them anyway, and the characters that are building this item are usually in melee range. They're not going to be long distance. So I don't understand what this change is meant to do. Tanks are going to be even crazier now. Phoenix Feather got a change. Now it fires out pulses that heals you and does true damage equal to your max HP to enemies within 3.2 meters around you, so it's a pretty close range one. Prophetic Cloak. Protection are needed to gain bonus mitigation to decrease from 350 to 300. Rage got a change. It's basically still the same. You just get less crit chance from the stacks, but you get an increase to how many stacks you get. So you need to get, instead of getting 5 stats, so basically it'll still give the same amount of 20% crit, but it'll just take you a little longer to get there. And you'll see this with a lot. Void Shield, Void Stone, basically the same thing. The closer you are to them, the bigger the protection debuff, and the farther away you are from them, the less protection they get shredded. And that's basically it for the patch. This is going to be a very crazy patch. I'm actually very excited to see what this looks like. Guan Yu, I loved Guan Yu in Smite 1, so him being introduced to this with all these very, very good changes. Tanks are going to be very, very dumb this next patch. We all know it. They're already dumb now. But with these kind of changes, they're going to be even more of a headache to deal with, especially since pen isn't universal anymore. with some of the items you're forced to build into one of these to get all of the pen that you need. So we'll see what it looks like. The good thing is that the amount of pen that you gain from Titan's Bane or something like Obsidian Short is crazy. Instead of 25%, it's 35% now. So it is still a pretty significant pen passive. However, I don't think it's going to really deal with the overall problem of the tanks in general, because they just simply do too much damage for how tanky they are. So by the time you can really get a benefit from this, you're probably already going to be dead. Let's just be real. But let me know what you guys think about the OB9 patch. I cannot wait for this to drop tomorrow. Thanks to y'all for watching, and y'all take care.